day 60 of the Bible in 90 days. Ezekiel takes a level of maturity to read through. It's a difficult book to read in a different perception than Jeremiah. You remember Jeremiah was different because it was sad. Ezekiel is at times hard to listen to because of the level of maturity that you have to have to think through some of the things. Like we were reading yesterday, he had God was using these sign acts to him to, and the purpose is that we need to understand with Ezekiel is that he is trying to get through to a people who are ignorant to the position that they're in. A lot of them they're all stuck in Babylon together, in exile in Babylon. And now one thing that they have that they shouldn't have is this victim mentality. They feel like they have been victimized by this invading army and have been carried into exile as victims. And the truth is, especially if y'all have watched the review, their position is punishment. And someone being punished is not a victim. If you do something bad and get whipped by your daddy, it is not a victim. You are being punished. Now, while that happens, when that happens, especially in the generation that's coming up now, and I don't speak badly about them, but we have this victim mentality, like, oh, this happened to me. Not this happened to me to correct me, this happened to me, and I want you to feel sorry for me. Now, God does feel sorry for these people, but he feels sorry for them because they don't understand. And Ezekiel's message tries to break those barriers with sign acts and with lewdness of speech, and there's a lot of things that we're going to come up to today. He's trying to get them to understand, and his sign acts get their attention, and then his message cuts them to the bone. So join me as we read chapters 7 through 20 in Ezekiel. The word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, this is what the sovereign Lord says to the land of Israel. The end has come. Upon the four corners of the land, the end is upon you, and I will unleash my anger against you. I will judge you according to your conduct, and repay you for all your detestable practices. I will look on you with pity. I will not look on you with pity. I will not spare you. I will surely repay you for your conduct, for all the detestable practices among you. And you will know that I am the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says. Disaster unheard of. Disaster. See, it comes. See, it comes. The end has come. The end has come. It has roused itself against you. See, it comes. Doom has come upon you who dwell in the land. The time has come. The day is near. There is panic, not joy, in the mountains, on the mountains. I am about to pour out my wrath on you, and spend my anger against you. I will judge you according to your conduct, and repay you for all your detestable practices. I will not look on you with pity. I will not spare you. I will repay you for your conduct, and for the detestable practices among you. Then you will know that it is I, the Lord, who strikes you. Verse 10. See the day, it comes. Doom has burst forth, the rod has budded, the arrogance has blossomed, violence has arisen, the rod to punish the wicked. None of the people will be left, none of that crowd, none of their wealth, nothing of value. It is the time has come, the day has arrived. Let not the buyer rejoice, nor the seller grieve, for my wrath is on the whole crowd. The seller will not recover the property that was sold, as long as the buyer and seller live. For the vision concerning the whole crowd will not be reversed. Because of their sins, not one of them will preserve their life. 14. They have blown the trumpet, and they have made all things ready. But not one will go into battle, for my wrath is on the whole crowd. Outside is the sword. There is inside our plague and famine. Can't say those at the same time. Those in the country will die by the sword. Those in the city will be devoured by famine and plague. The fugitives who escape will flee to the mountains like doves of the valleys. They will moan, each for their own sins. Every hand will go limp, every leg will be wet with urine. They will put on sackcloth and be clothed with terror. Every face will be covered with shame, and every head will be shaved. They will throw their silver into the streets, and their gold will be treated as a thing unclean. Their silver and gold will not be able to deliver them in the day of the Lord's wrath, nor will it satisfy their hunger or fill their stomachs, for it has caused them to stumble into sin. They took pride in their beautiful jewelry and used it to make their detestable idols. They made it into vile images. Therefore I will make it a thing unclean for them. I will give their wealth as plunder to foreigners, and as loot to the wicked of the earth, who will defile it. I will turn my face away from the people, and robbers will desecrate the place I treasure. They will enter it and will defile it. Prepare chains, for the land is full of bloodshed, and the city is full of violence. I will bring the most wicked of nations to take possession of their houses. I will put an end to the pride of the mighty. I will put an end to the pride of the mighty, and their sanctuaries will be desecrated. When terror comes, they will seek peace in vain. Calamity upon calamity will come, and rumor upon rumor. They will go searching for a vision from the prophet. Priestly instruction in the law will cease. The council of elders will come to an end. The king will mourn. The prince will be clothed with despair. And the hands of the people of the land will tremble. I will deal with them according to their conduct, and by their own standards I will judge them. They will not, and then they will know that I am the Lord. This is a recurring statement throughout Ezekiel. Chapter 8. In the 6th year, in the 6th month, on the 5th day, while I was sitting in my house, and the elders of Judah were sitting before me, the hand of the sovereign Lord came upon me there. I looked and saw the figure like that of a man. From what appeared to be his waist down, he was like fire, and from there up his appearance was bright as a glowing metal. He stretched out what looked like a hand and took me by the hair of my head. The Spirit filled me up between the earth and the heaven. The Spirit lifted me up between the earth and heaven, and in visions of God, he took me to Jerusalem, to the entrance of the north gate of the inner court, where the idol that provokes to jealousy stood. And there before me was the glory of the Lord of Israel, as in the vision I had seen in the plain. Then he said to me, Son of man, look towards the north. And I looked, and I saw in the entrance of the north gate of the altar, I saw this idol of jealousy. And he said to me, Son of man, do you see what you are doing? What they are doing? Utterly detestable things the Israelites are doing here, things that will drive me far from my sanctuary. But you will see things that are even more detestable. Verse 7. Then he brought me to the entrance of the court. I looked, and I saw a hole in the wall, and he said to me, Son of man, now dig into the wall. So I dug into the wall and saw a doorway there. And he said to me, Go in and see the wicked, detestable things they are doing here. So I went in and looked, and I saw portrayed all over the walls all kinds of crawling things and unclean animals, and all the idols of Israel. In front of them stood the 70 elders of Israel. And Jaazaniah, son of Shaphan, was standing among them. Each had a censer in his hand, and a fragrant cloud of incense was rising. Verse 12, he said to me, Son of man, have you seen what the elders of Israel are doing in the darkness, each at the shrine of his own idol? They say, The Lord does not see us. The Lord has forsaken the land. Again, he said, You will see them doing things that are even more detestable. Verse 14, Then he brought me to the entrance of the north gate of the house of the Lord, and I saw women sitting there, mourning the god of Tammuz. He said to me, Do you see this, son of man? You will see things that are even more detestable than this. 16. Then he brought me to the inner court of the house of the Lord, and there at the entrance to the temple between the portico and the altar there were about 25 men, with their backs towards the temple of the Lord and their faces toward the east. They were bowing down to the sun in the east. 17. He said to me, Have you seen this, son of man? It is a trivial matter for people of Judah. Is it a trivial matter for the people of Judah to do the detestable things they are doing here? Must they also fill the land with violence and continually arouse my anger? Look at them, putting the branch to their nose. Therefore I will deal with them in anger. I will not look on them with pity or spare them. Although they shout in my ears, I will not listen to them. Chapter 9. Then I heard him call out in a loud voice, Bring near those who are appointed to execute judgment on the city, each with a weapon in his hand. And I saw 6 men coming from the direction of the upper gate, which faces north, each with a deadly weapon in his hand. With them was a man clothed in linen who had a writing kit at his side. They came in and stood beside the bronze altar. Now the glory of the God of Israel went up above the cherubim where it had been, and it moved to the threshold of the temple. And then the Lord called the man clothed in linen, who had the writing kit at his side. He said to him, Go through the city of Jerusalem and put a mark on the foreheads of those who grieve and lament over all the detestable things that are done in it. As I listened, he said to the others, Follow him through the city and kill without showing pity or compassion, slaughter the old men, the young men and women, the mothers and children, but do not touch anyone who has the mark. Begin at my sanctuary. So they began with the old men who were in front of the temple. Verse 7. He said to them, Defile the people and fill the courts. Defile the temple and fill the courts with the slain. Go. So they went out and began killing throughout the city. While they were killing, I was left alone. I fell face down, crying out, Allah, sovereign Lord, are you going to destroy the entire remnant of Israel in this outpouring of your wrath on Jerusalem? Verse 9, he answered me, The sin of the people of Israel and Judah is exceedingly great. The land is full of bloodshed, and the city is full of injustice. They say, The Lord has forsaken the land, the Lord does not see. So I will not look on them with pity or spare them, but I will bring down on their heads what they have done. The man in linen with the writing kit at his side brought back a word, saying, I have done as you commanded. Chapter 10. I looked, and I saw the likeness of a throne of lapis lazuli above the vault that was over the heads of one of the cherubim. The Lord said to the man clothed in linen, Go in among the wheels beneath the cherubim. Fill your hands with burning coals from among the cherubim, and scatter them over the city. And as I watched, he went in. 3. Now the cherubim were standing on the south side of the temple when the man went in, and a cloud filled the inner court. The glory of the Lord rose from above the cherubim and moved to the threshold of the temple. The cloud filled the temple, and the court was full of the radiance of the glory of the Lord. The sound of the wings of the cherubim could be heard as far as the outer court, like the voice of God Almighty, and when he speaks. Then the Lord commanded the man in linen, Take fire from among the wheels, from among the cherubim. The man went in and stood beside a wheel. Then one of the cherubim reached out his hand to the fire that was among them. He took some of it and put it into the hands of the man in linen, who took it and went out. Under the wings of the cherubim could be seen what looked like human hands. Verse 9. I looked, and I saw beside the cherubim 4 wheels, one beside each of the cherubim. The wheels sparkled like topaz. As for their appearance, the 4 of them looked alike. Each was like a wheel intersecting a wheel. As they moved, they would go in any one of the 4 directions the cherubim faced. The wheels did not turn about as the cherubim went. The cherubim went in whatever direction the head faced, without turning as they went. The entire bodies, including their backs, their hands, and their wings, were completely full of eyes, as were their 4 wheels. I heard the wheels being called the whirling wheels. Each of the cherubim had 4 faces. One face was like that of one face was that of a cherub. The second face was that of a human being. The third, the face of a lion. The fourth, the face of an eagle. 15. Then the cherubim rose upward. These were the living creatures I had seen by the Kibar River. When the cherubim moved, the wheels beside them moved. And when the cherubim spread their wings to rise from the ground, the wheels did not leave their side. When the cherubim stood still, they also stood still, and when the cherubim rose, they rose with them, because the spirit of the living creatures was in them. Verse 18. Then the glory of the Lord departed from over the threshold of the temple and stopped above the cherubim. While I watched, the cherubs spread their wings and rose from the ground. As they went, the wheels went with them. They stopped at the entrance of the east gate of the house of the Lord, and the glory of God of Israel was above them. Verse 20. These were the living creatures I had seen beneath the God of Israel by the Kibar River. And I realized that they were cherubim. Each had 4 faces and 4 wings, and under their wings had what looked like human hands. Their faces had the same appearance as those I had seen by the Kibar River. Each one went straight ahead. Chapter 11. Then the Spirit lifted me up and brought me to the gate of the house of the Lord. that faces east. There at the entrance of the gate were 25 men. I saw among them Jaazaniah, son of Azur, and Pelatiah, son of Benaiah, leaders of the people. The Lord said to me, Son of man, these are the men who are plotting evil and giving wicked advice in this city. They say, Haven't our houses been recently rebuilt? The city is a pot, and we are the meat in it. Therefore prophesy against them. Prophesy, Son of man. Then the Spirit of the Lord came on me, and he told me to say, This is what the Lord says. This is what you are saying, you leaders in Israel. But I know what is going through your mind. You have killed many people in this city and filled the streets with the dead. Therefore this is what the sovereign Lord says. The bodies you have thrown there are the meat in the city and the city is the pot, but I will drive you out of it. You fear the sword, and the sword is what I will bring against you, declares the sovereign Lord. I will drive you out of the city and deliver you into the hands of the foreigners and inflict punishment on you. You will fall by the sword, and I will execute judgment on you at the borders of Israel. Then you will know that I am the Lord. This city will not be a pot for you, nor will you be the meat in it. I will execute judgment on the borders of Israel, and you will know that I am the Lord. For you have not followed my decrees or kept my laws, but have conformed to the standards of the nations around you. Verse 13. Now as I was prophesying, Pelatiah, son of Benaiah, died. And I fell face down and cried out with a loud voice, Alas, sovereign Lord, will you completely destroy the remnant of Israel? Verse 14. The word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, the people of Jerusalem have said of your fellow exiles and all your other Israelites, They are far away from the Lord. This land was given to us as our possession. Therefore say, This is what the sovereign Lord says. Although I sent them far away from among the nations and scattered them among the countries, yet for a little while I have been a sanctuary for them in the countries where they have gone. 17. Therefore say, This is what the sovereign Lord says. I will gather you from the nations and bring you back from the countries where you have been scattered. I will give you back the land of Israel. 18. They will return to it and remove all its vile images and detestable idols. I will give them an undivided heart and put a new spirit in them. I will remove from them their heart of stone and give them a heart of flesh. Then they will follow my decrees and be careful to keep my laws. They will be my people, and I will be their God. But as for those whose hearts are devoted to their vile images and detestable idols, I will bring down on their heads what they have done, declares the sovereign Lord. 22. Then the cherubim, with the wheels beside them, spread their wings, and the glory of Israel was above them. The glory of the Lord went up from within the city and stopped above the mountain east of it. The Spirit lifted me up and brought me to the exiles in Babylonia, in the vision given by the Spirit of God. Then the vision I had seen went up from me, and I told the exiles everything the Lord had shown me. Chapter 12. The word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, you are living among a rebellious people. They have eyes to see, but do not see, and ears to hear, but do not hear, for they are a rebellious people. Verse 3. Therefore, Son of man, pack your belongings for exile, and in daytime, as they watch, this is another sign act. We had a vision, and now we have another sign act. As they watch, set out and go from where you are to another place. Perhaps they will understand, though they are a rebellious people. During the daytime, while they watch, bring out your belongings packed for exile, and then in the evening, while they are watching, go out like those who go into exile. Watch. While they watch, dig through the wall and take your belongings out through it. Put them on your shoulder as they are watching, and carry them out at dusk. Cover your face so that you cannot see the land, for I have made you a sign to the Israelites. Verse 7. So as I did what I was commanded during the day, I brought out my things packed for exile. Then in the evening I dug through the wall with my hands. I took my belongings out at dusk, carrying them on my shoulders while they watched. In the morning the word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, did not the Israelites, that rebellious people, ask you, what are you doing? Son of man, did not the Israelites, that rebellious people, ask you, what are you doing? Say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says. The prophecy concerns the prince in Jerusalem. This prophecy concerns the prince in Jerusalem and all the Israelites who are there. Say to them, I am a sign to you, as I have done, so it will be done to them. They will go into exile as captives. Verse 12. The prince among them will put his things on his shoulder at dusk and leave, and a hole will be dug through the wall for him to go through. He will cover his face so that he cannot see the land. I will spread my net out for him, and he will be caught in my snare. I will bring him to Babylonia, and the land of the Chaldeans, but he will not see, and there he will die. Remember what happened to... I will scatter the winds all around all those around him. His staff and all his troops, I will pursue them with drawn sword. They will know that I am the Lord when I disperse them among the nations and scatter them through the countries. But I will spare a few of them from the sword, famine, and plague, so that the nations where they go may acknowledge all their detestable practices. Then they will know that I am the Lord. Verse 17. The word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, tremble as you eat your food. This is another sign act. And shudder in fear as you drink water. Say to the people of the land, this is what the sovereign Lord says about those living in Jerusalem and in the land of Israel. They will eat their food with anxiety and drink their water in despair, for their land will be stripped of everything in it, because of the violence of all who live there. The inhabited towns will be laid waste, and the land will be desolate. Then you will know that I am the Lord. Verse 21. The word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, this is what is this proverb you have in the land of Israel? The days go by, and every vision comes to nothing. Say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I am going to put an end to this proverb, and they will no longer quote it in Israel. Say to them, the days are near when every vision will be fulfilled, for there will be no more false visions or flattering divinations among the people of Israel. But I, the Lord, will speak what I will, and it shall be fulfilled without delay. For in your days, you rebellious people, I will fulfill whatever I say, declares the sovereign Lord. Verse 26. The word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, the Israelites are saying, the vision he sees is for many years from now. He prophesies about the distant future. 28. Therefore say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says. None of my words will be delayed any longer. Whatever I say will be fulfilled, declares the sovereign Lord. Chapter 13. The word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, prophesy against the prophets of Israel who are now prophesying. Say to those who prophesy out of their own imagination, hear the word of the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says. Woe to the foolish prophets who follow their own spirit and have seen nothing. Your prophets, Israel, are like jackals among ruins. You have not gone up to the breaches in the wall to repair for the people of Israel, so that it will stand firm in the battle on the day of the Lord. Their visions are false, and their divinations a lie. Even though the Lord has not sent them, they say, "The Lord declares," and they expect him to fulfill their words. Have you not seen false visions and uttered lying divinations when you say, "The Lord declares," though I have not spoken? Verse 8. Therefore this is what the sovereign Lord says. Because of your false words and your lying divinations, I am against you, declares the sovereign Lord. My hand will be against the prophets who see false visions and utter lying divinations. They will not belong to the council of my people, or be listed in the records of Israel, nor will they enter the land of Israel. Then you will know that I am the sovereign Lord. Verse 10. Because they lead my people astray, saying peace, when there is no peace, and because when a flimsy wall is built, they cover it with whitewash. Therefore, tell those who cover it with whitewash that it's going to fall. Rain will come in torrents, and I will send hail stones hurtling down, and violent winds will burst forth. When the wall collapses, the people will not ask you, "Where is the whitewash you covered it with?" 13. Therefore this is what the sovereign Lord says. In my wrath I will unleash violent wind, and in my anger hailstones and torrents of rain will fall with destructive fury. I will tear down the wall you have covered with whitewash, and it will be leveled to the ground, so that its foundation will be laid bare. When it falls, you will be destroyed in it, and you will know that I am the Lord. So I will pour out my wrath against the wall and against those who covered it with whitewash. I will say to you, this wall is gone, and so are those who whitewashed it. Those prophets of Israel who prophesied to Jerusalem and saw visions of peace for her when there was no peace, declares the sovereign Lord. Isn't it funny that Jesus calls the Pharisees whitewashed tombs? This is what he is referring to. Now, Son of man, set your face against the daughters of your people, who prophesy out of their own imagination. Prophesy against them, and say, "This is what the sovereign Lord says. Woe to the women who sew magic charms on all their wrists, and make veils of various lengths for their heads in order to ensnare people. Will you ensnare the lives of my people, but preserve your own? You have profaned me among my people for a few handfuls of barley and scraps of bread. By lying to my people who listen to lies, you have killed those who should not have died, and have spared those who should not live." Verse 20. Therefore this is what the sovereign Lord says. I am against your magic charms, with which you ensnare people like birds, and I will tear them from your arms. I will set free the people that ensnare like birds. I will tear off your veils and save my people from your hands, and they will no longer fall prey to your power. Then you will know that I am the Lord, because you disheartened because you disheartened the righteous with your lies. When I had brought them no grief, and because you encouraged the wicked not to turn from their evil ways, and so save their lives. Therefore you will no longer see false visions or practice divination. I will save my people from your hands, and then you will know that I am the Lord. Chapter 14. Some of the elders of Israel came to me and sat down in front of me. Then the word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, these men have set up idols in their hearts, and put wicked stumbling blocks before their faces. Should I let them inquire of me at all? Therefore speak to them and tell them, this is what the sovereign Lord says. When any of the Israelites set up idols in their hearts, and put a wicked stumbling block before their faces, and then go to a prophet, I, the Lord, will answer them myself, in keeping with their great idolatry. I will do this to recapture the hearts of the people of Israel, who have all deserted me for their idols. Therefore say to the people of Israel, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Repent. Turn from your idols and renounce all your detestable practices. Verse 7. Then any of the Israelites or foreigner residing in Israel separate them. When any of the Israelites or any foreigner residing in Israel separate from themselves from me, and set up idols in their hearts, and put a wicked stumbling block before their faces, and then go to a prophet to inquire of me, I, the Lord, will answer them myself, and will set my face against them, and make them an example and a byword. I will remove them from my people. Then you will know that I am the Lord. Verse 9. And if the prophet is enticed to utter a prophecy, I, the Lord, have enticed that prophet. I, the Lord, that enticed that prophet. I will stretch out my hand against him, and destroy him from among my people Israel. They will bear their guilt. The prophet will be as guilty as the one who consults him. Then the people of Israel will no longer stray from me, nor will they defile themselves any more with all their sins. They will become my people, and I will be their God, declares the sovereign Lord. Verse 12. The word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, if a country sins against me by being unfaithful, and I stretch out my hand against it to cut off its food supply, and send famine upon it, and kill its people and their animals, even if these three men, Noah, Daniel, and Job, were in it, they could only save themselves by their righteousness, declares the sovereign Lord. Verse 15. Or if I send wild beasts through that country, and they leave it childless, and it becomes desolate, so that no one can pass through it because of these beasts, as surely as I live, declares the sovereign Lord, even if these three men were in it, they could not save their sons or their own sons or daughters. They alone would be saved, but the land would be desolate. Verse 17. Or if I bring a sword against that country, and say, let the sword pass throughout the land, and I kill its people and their animals, as surely as I live, declares the sovereign Lord, even if these three men were in it. He's talking about righteous men. They could not save their sons or daughters. They alone would be saved. Verse 19. Or if I send a plague into that land and pour out my wrath on it through bloodshed, killing its people and their animals, as surely as I live, declares the sovereign Lord, even if Noah, Daniel, and Job were in it, they could save neither son nor daughter. They would only save themselves by their righteousness. For this is what the sovereign Lord says. How much worse will it be when I send against Jerusalem my four dreadful judgments, sword and famine and wild beasts and plague, to kill its men and their animals? Yet there will be some survivors, sons and daughters, who will be brought out of it. They will come to you, and when you see their conduct and their actions, you will be consoled regarding the disaster I have brought on Jerusalem. Every disaster I have brought on it, you will be consoled when you see their conduct and their actions, for you will know that I have done nothing in it without cause, declares the sovereign Lord. Chapter 15. The word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, how is the wood of a vine different from that of a branch from any of the trees in the forest? Is wood ever taken from it to make anything useful? Do they make pegs from it to hang things on? After it is thrown into the fire as fuel, and the fire burns both ends and chars the middle, then it is useful for any is it then useful for anything? If it was not useful for anything when it was whole, how much less can it be made into something useful when the fire has burned it and it is charred? Therefore this is what the sovereign Lord says: As I have given wood from the vine among the trees of the forest as fuel for the fire, so will I treat the people living in Jerusalem. I will set my face against them. Although they have come out of the fire will yet consume them. And when I set my face against them, you will know that I am the Lord. I will make the land desolate because they have been unfaithful, declares the sovereign Lord. There is a whole lot of justice for the way they treated Jeremiah. That's what I'm seeing in this today. The way they treated Jeremiah was terrible. Okay, this is one of the most difficult chapters right here. Chapter 16. The word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, confront Jerusalem with her detestable practices, and say, This is what the sovereign Lord says to Jerusalem. Your ancestry and birth were in the land of the Canaanites. Your father was an Amorite, and your mother a Hittite. On the day you were born, your cord was not cut, nor were you washed with water to make you clean, nor were you rubbed with salt or wrapped in cloths. No one looked on you with pity or had compassion enough to do any of these things for you. Rather, you were thrown out into the open field, for on the day you were born, you were despised. Verse 6. Then I passed by and saw you kicking about in your blood. As you lay there in your blood, I said to you, Live! I made you grow like a plant, like a plant of the field. You grew and developed and entered puberty. Your breast had formed and your hair had grown, yet you were stark naked. Verse 8. Later I had passed by, and when I looked at you, I saw that you were old enough for love. I spread the corner of my garment over you and covered your naked body. I gave you my solemn oath and entered you into a covenant with you, declares the sovereign Lord, and you became mine. Verse 9. I bathed you with water and washed the blood from you and put ointments on you. I clothed you with an embroidered dress and put sandals of fine leather on you. I dressed you in fine linen and covered you with costly garments. I adorned you with jewelry. I put bracelets on your arms and a necklace around your neck. And I put a ring on your nose and earrings on your ears and a beautiful crown on your head. So you were adorned with gold and silver. Your clothes were of fine linen and costly fabric and embroidered cloth. Your food was honey, olive oil, and the finest flour. You became very beautiful and rose to be a queen. And your fame spread among the nations on account of your beauty, because of the splendor I had given you and made your beauty perfect, declares the sovereign Lord. Verse 15. But you trusted in your beauty and used your fame to become a prostitute. You lavished your favors on anyone who passed by, and your beauty became his. You took some of your garments and made gaudy high places where you carried on your prostitution. You went to him, and he possessed your beauty. You also took fine jewelry I gave you, the jewelry made of gold and silver, and you made for yourself male idols, and engaged in prostitution with them. And you took your embroidered clothes and put them on, and you offered my oil and incense before them. Also the food I provided for you, the flour, olive oil, and honey I gave you to eat, and you offered it as fragrant incense before them. That is what happened, declares the sovereign Lord. And you took your sons and daughters whom you bore to me, and sacrificed them as food to the idols. Was your prostitution not enough? You slaughtered my children and sacrificed them to idols, and all your detestable practices in your prostitution. You did not remember the days of your youth, when you were naked and bare, and kicked about in your blood. 23. Woe! Woe to you, declares the sovereign Lord. In addition to all your other wickedness, you built a mound for yourself and made a lofty shrine in every public square. And at every street corner you built lofty shrines and degraded your beauty, spreading your legs with increasing promiscuity to anyone who passed by. You engaged in prostitution with the Egyptians, your neighbors with large genitals, and you aroused with my anger with your increasing promiscuity. So I stretched out my hand against you and reduced your territory. I gave you over to the greed of your enemies, the daughters of the Philistines, who were shocked with your lewd conduct. You engaged in prostitution with the Assyrians, too, because you were insatiable. And even after that, you still were not satisfied. Then you increased your promiscuity to include Babylonia, the land of the merchants, a land of merchants. But even with this, you were not satisfied. Verse 30. I am filled with fury against you, declares the sovereign Lord, when you do all these things, acting like a brazen prostitute, when you build your mounds at every street corner, and you made your lofty shrines in every public square. You were unlike a prostitute, because you scorned payment. 32. You adulterous wife, you prefer strangers to your own husband. All prostitutes receive gifts, but you give gifts to all your lovers, bribing them to come to you from everywhere, from your illicit for your illicit favors. So in your prostitution you are opposite of others. No one runs after you for your favors. You are the very opposite, for you give payment, and none is given to you. Verse 35. Therefore, you prostitute, hear the word of the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says: because you poured out your lust and exposed your naked body in your promiscuity with your lovers, and because all of your detestable idols, and because you gave them your children's blood, therefore I am going to gather all your lovers, with whom you found pleasure, those who you loved as well as those you hated, and I will gather them against you from all around and strip you in front of them, and they will see you stark naked. I will sentence you to the punishment of women who commit adultery and who shed blood. I will bring on you the blood vengeance of my wrath and jealous anger. Then I will deliver you into the hands of your lovers, and they will tear down your mounds and destroy your lofty shrines. They will strip you of your clothes and take your fine jewelry and leave you stark naked. They will bring a mob against you, who will stone you and hack you to pieces with their swords. They will burn down your houses and inflict punishment on you in the sight of many women. And I will put a stop to your prostitution, and you will no longer pay your lovers. Then my wrath against you will subside, and my jealous anger will turn away from you. I will be calm and no longer angry, because you did not remember the days of your youth, but enraged me with all these things. I will surely bring down your head. On your head what you have done, declares the sovereign Lord. Did you not add lewdness to all your other detestable practices? Verse 44. Everyone who quotes Proverbs will quote this proverb about you: like mother, like daughter. You are a true daughter of your mother, who despised her husband and her children, and you are a true sister of your sisters, who despised their husbands and their children. Your mother was a Hittite, and your father an Amorite. Your older sister was Samaria, and who lived to the north of you with her daughters. You and your youngest sister, who lived to the south with her daughters, was Sodom. You not only followed their ways and copied their detestable practices, but in all your ways you soon became more depraved than they. As surely as I live, declares the sovereign Lord, your sister Sodom and her daughters never did what your daughters have done. Now, this was the sin of your sister Sodom. She and her daughters were arrogant, overfed, and unconcerned. They did not help the poor and needy. They were haughty and did detestable things before me. Therefore I did away with them, as you have seen. Samaria did not commit half the sins as you, and you have done more detestable things than they, and have made your sisters seem righteous by all these things you have done. Bear your disgrace, for you have furnished some justification for your sisters, because your sins were more vile than theirs. They appear more righteous than you. So then, be ashamed and bear your disgrace, for you have made your sisters appear righteous. 53. However, I will restore the fortunes of Sodom and her daughters, and of Samaria and her daughters, and the fortunes along with them, so that you may bear disgrace and be ashamed of all you have done, in giving them comfort. And your sister Sodom with her daughters and Samaria with her daughters will return to what they were before, and you and your daughters will return to what you were before. You will not even mention your sister Sodom in the day of your pride, there before your wickedness was uncovered. Even so, you are now scorned by the daughters of Edom, and all her neighbors, and the daughters of the Philistines, and all those around you who despise you. You will bear the consequences of your lewdness and your detestable practices, declares the Lord. 59. This is what the sovereign Lord says. I will deal with you as you deserve, because you have despised my oath on breaking the covenant. Yet I will remember the covenant I made with you in the days of your youth, and I will establish an everlasting covenant with you. Man, isn't the forgiveness of the Lord is greater than anything in the world. Listen to this. Then you will remember your ways and be ashamed. And when you receive your sisters, both those who are older than you and those who are younger, I will give them to you as daughters, but not on the basis of my covenant with you. So I will establish my covenant with you, and you will know that I am the Lord. Then I will make atonement for you and for all you have done, and you will remember and not be ashamed, and never again open your mouth because of your humiliation, declares the sovereign Lord. Chapter 17. The word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, set forth an allegory to tell it to the Israelites as a parable. Say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says. A great eagle with powerful wings, long feather, and full plumage of varied colors came to Lebanon, taking hold of the top of a cedar, and he broke off almost its topmost shoot and carried it away to a land of merchants, where he planted it in a city of traders. He took one of the seedlings to the land and put it in fertile soil. He planted it like a willow by abundant water, and it sprouted and became a low, spreading vine. Its branches turned toward him, but its roots remained under it. So it became a vine and produced branches and put out leafy boughs. But there was another eagle with powerful wings and full plumage. The vine now set out its roots toward him from the plot where it was planted, and stretched out its branches to him for water. Then it had been planted in good soil by abundant water, so that it would produce branches, bear fruit, and become a splendid vine. Say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Will it thrive? Will it not be uprooted and stripped of its fruit, so that it withers? All its new growth will wither, but it will not take a strong arm or many people to pull it up by the roots. It has been planted, but will it thrive? Will it not wither completely when the east wind strikes it? Wither away where the plot where it grew? Verse 11. Then the word of the Lord came to me. Say to this rebellious people, Do you not know what these things mean? Say to them, the king of Babylon went to Jerusalem and carried off her king and her nobles, bringing them back with him to Babylon. Then he took a member of the royal family and made a treaty with him, and put him under oath, and he also carried away the leading men of the land, so that the kingdom would be brought low, unable to rise again, surviving only to keep its treaty. But the king rebelled against him by sending his envoys to Egypt to get horses and a large army. Will he succeed? Will he who does such things escape? Will he break the treaty and yet escape? As surely as I live, declares the sovereign Lord, he shall die in Babylon in the hand of the king who put him on the throne, whose oath he despised and whose treaty he broke. Pharaoh, with his mighty arm and great horde, will be of no help to him in war. When the ramps are built and the siege works erected to destroy many lives, he despised the oath by breaking the covenant, because he had given his hand in a pledge, and yet did all these things. He shall not escape. Verse 19. Therefore this is what the sovereign Lord says. As surely as I live, I will repay him for despising my oath and breaking my covenant. I will spread my net for him, and he will be caught in my snare. I will bring him to Babylon and execute judgment on him there, because he was unfaithful to me. All his choice troops will fall by the sword, and the survivors will be scattered to the winds, and then you will know that I, the Lord, have spoken. Verse 22. This is what the sovereign Lord says. I myself will take a shoot from the very top of a cedar and plant it. I will break off a tender sprig from its topmost shoots and plant it on a high, lofty mountain, on the mountain heights of Israel. I will plant it. I will produce branches and bear fruit and become a splendid cedar. Birds of every kind will nest in it. They will find shelter in the shade of its branches. All the trees of the forest will know that I, the Lord, bring down the tall tree and made the low tree grow tall. I dry up the green and make the dry tree flourish. I dry up the green tree and make the dry tree flourish. I, the Lord, have spoken and will do it. Verse 18, or chapter 18, rather. The word of the Lord came to me. What do you people mean by quoting this proverb about the land of Israel? The parents eat sour grapes, and the children's teeth are set on edge. As surely as I live, declares the sovereign Lord, you will no longer quote this proverb in Israel. For everyone belongs to me, the parent as well as the child. Both alike belong to me. The one who sins is the one who will die. Verse 5. Suppose there is a righteous man who does what is just and right. He does not eat at the mountain shrines or look to the idols of Israel. He does not defile his neighbor's wife or have sexual relations with a woman during her period. He does not oppress anyone, but returns what he took in pledge for a loan. He does not commit robbery, but gives his food to the hungry and provides clothing for the naked. He does not lend to them at interest or take a profit from them. He withholds his hand from doing wrong and judges fairly between two parties. He follows my decrees and faithfully keeps my laws. That man is righteous, he will surely live, declares the sovereign Lord. Suppose he has a violent son, who sheds blood or does any of these other things, though the father has done none of them. He eats at mountain shrines, he defiles his neighbor's wife, he oppresses the poor and needy, he commits robbery, he does not return what he took in pledge, he looks to the idols, he does detestable things, he lends at interest and takes a profit. Will such a man live? He will not. Because he has done all these detestable things, he is to be put to death. His blood will be on his own head. But suppose this son has a son who sees all the sins his father commits, and though he sees them, he does not do such things. He does not eat at the mountain shrines, or look to the idols of Israel. He does not defile his neighbor's wife. He does not oppress anyone, or require a pledge for a loan. He does not commit robbery, but gives food to the hungry, and provides clothing for the naked. He withholds his hand from mistreating the poor, and takes no interest or profit from them. He keeps my laws and obeys and follows my decrees. He will not die for his father's sin; he will surely live. But his father will not die for his own. But his father will die for his own sin, because he practiced distortion, robbed his brother, and did what was wrong among his people. Yet you ask, why does the son not share the guilt of his father? Since the son has done what is right and has been careful to keep all my decrees, he will surely live. The one who sins is the one who will die. The child will not share in the guilt of the parent, nor will the parent share in the guilt of the child. The righteous of the righteous will be credited. The righteousness of the righteous will be credited to them, and the wickedness of the wicked will be charged against him. 21. But if a wicked person turns to the way of all the sins they have committed, and keeps all my decrees, and does what is just and right, that person will surely live. They will not die. None of these offenses they have committed will be remembered against them, because of the righteous things they have done. They will live. Do I take pleasure in the death of the wicked, declares the Lord, the sovereign Lord? Rather, I am not pleased when they turn. Rather, am I not pleased when they turn from their ways and live? 24. But if a righteous person turns from their righteousness and commits sin, and does the same detestable things the wicked person does, will they live? None of the righteous things that person has done will be remembered, because of the unfaithfulness they are guilty of, and because of the sins they have committed, they will die. Dude, Ezekiel answers all kinds of questions, doesn't he? Verse 25. Yet you say, the way of the Lord is not just. Hear you, Israelites, is my way unjust? Is it not your ways that are unjust? If a righteous person turns from their righteousness and commits sin, they will die for it. Because of the sin they have committed, they will die. But if a wicked person turns from their wickedness and they have committed and does what is just and right, they will save their life, because they consider all the offenses they have committed and turn away from them. That person will surely live, they will not die. Yet the Israelites say, the way of the Lord is not just. Are my ways unjust, people of Israel? Is it not your ways that are unjust? Therefore, you Israelites, I will judge each of you according to your own ways, declares the sovereign Lord. Repent, turn away from all your offenses, then sin will not be your downfall. Rid yourselves of all the offenses you have committed, and get a new heart and a new spirit. Why will you die, people of Israel? For I take no pleasure in the death of anyone, declares the sovereign Lord. Repent and live. Amen. Ezekiel's preaching now, isn't he? Chapter 19. Take up a lament concerning the princes of Israel, and say, what a lioness was your mother among the lions! She lay down among them and reared her cubs. She brought up one of her cubs and became a strong lion, and he became a strong lion. He learned to tear the prey and become a man-eater, and he became a man-eater. The nations heard about him, and he was trapped in their pit, and they led him with hooks to the land of Egypt. Then, when she saw her hope unfulfilled, her expectation gone, she took another of her cubs, and she made him a strong lion. He prowled among the lions, for he was now a strong lion, and he learned to tear the prey, and he became a man-eater. He broke down their strongholds and devastated their towns. The land and all who were in it were terrified by his roaring. Then the nations came against him, those from regions round about. They spread their net for him, and he was trapped in their pit. With hooks they pulled him into a cage and brought him to the king of Babylon. They put him in prison. His roar was heard no longer on the mountains of Israel. Verse 10. Your mother was like a vine in your vineyard, planted by the water. It was fruitful in all the branches because of the abundant water. Its branches were strong, fit for a ruler's scepter. It towered high above the thick foliage, conspicuous for its height, for its many branches, but it was uprooted in fury and thrown to the ground. The east wind made it shrivel, and it was stripped of its fruit. Its long branches withered, and the fire consumed them. Now it is planted in the desert, in a dry and thirsty land. Fire spread from its main branches and consumed its fruit. No longer branch is left on it. No strong branch is left on it, fit for a ruler's scepter. This lament is to be used as a lament. Chapter 20. In the 7th year, in the 5th month, on the 10th day, some of the elders of Israel came to inquire of the Lord. They sat down in front of me. Then the word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, speak to the elders of Israel, and say to them, This is what the sovereign Lord says. Have you come to inquire of me? As surely as I live, I will not let you inquire of me, declares the sovereign Lord. Verse 4. Will you judge them? Will you judge them, Son of man? Then confront them with detestable practices of their ancestors, and say to them, This is what the sovereign Lord says. On the day I chose Israel, I swore with uplifted hand to the descendants of Jacob, and revealed myself to them in Egypt. With uplifted hand I said to them, I am the Lord your God. On the day I swore to them that I would bring them out of Egypt into a land I had searched out for them, a land flowing with milk and honey, the most beautiful of all lands. And I said to them, Each of you rid the vile images you have set your eyes on, and do not defile yourself with the idols of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. Verse 8. But they rebelled against me and would not listen to me. They did not get rid of the vile images they had set their eyes on, nor did they forsake the idols of Egypt. So I said I would pour out my wrath on them, and spend my anger against them in Egypt, for the sake of my name. I brought them out of Egypt. I did keep my name from being profaned in the eyes of the nations among whom they lived, and whose sight I had revealed myself to the Israelites. Therefore I led them out of Egypt and brought them into the wilderness. I gave them my decrees and made known to them my laws, by which the person who obeys them will live. I also gave them my Sabbaths as a sign between us, so they would know that I am the Lord, that I, the Lord, made them holy. Verse 13. Yet the people of Israel rebelled against me in the wilderness. They did not follow my decrees, but rejected my laws, by which the person who obeys them will live, and they utterly desecrated my Sabbaths. So I said I would pour out my wrath on them and destroy them in the wilderness. But for the sake of my name, I did what would keep it from being profaned in the eyes of the nations, whose sight I had brought them out, in whose sight I had brought them out. I also uplifted the hand I swore to them in the wilderness, that I would not bring them into the land I had given them, a land flowing with milk and honey, the most beautiful of all lands, because they rejected my laws and did not follow my decrees and desecrated my Sabbaths, for their hearts were devoted to their idols. Yet I looked on them with pity and did not destroy them or put an end to them in the wilderness. I said to their children in the wilderness, do not follow the statutes of your parents, or keep their laws, or defile yourselves with their idols. I am the Lord your God. Follow my decrees and be careful to keep my laws. Keep my Sabbaths holy, that they may be a sign between us. Then you will know that I am the Lord your God. 21. But the children rebelled against me. They did not follow my decrees, and they were not careful to keep my laws, of which I said, the person who obeys them will live by them. And they desecrated my Sabbaths. So I said I would pour out my wrath on them and spend my anger against them in the wilderness. But I withheld my hand for the sake of my name. I did what would keep it from being profaned in the eyes of the nations, whose sight I had brought them out of. In whose sight I had brought them out. Also with uplifted hand I swore to them in the wilderness that I would disperse them among the nations and scatter them through the countries, because they had not obeyed my laws, but had rejected my decrees and desecrated my Sabbaths. In their eyes lusted after their parents' idols. So they gave them other statutes that were not good, and laws through which they could not live. I defiled them through their gifts. The sacrifice of every firstborn, that I might fill them with horror, so they would know that I am the Lord. Therefore, Son of Man, speak to the people of Israel and say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says. In this also your ancestors blasphemed me in the day by being unfaithful to me when I brought them into the land I had sworn to give them, and they saw any high hill or leafy tree, they offered their sacrifices, made offerings that aroused my anger, and presented their fragrant incense, and poured out their drink offerings. Then I said to them, what is this high place you go to? It's called Bamah to this day. Verse 30. Therefore say to the Israelites, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Will you defile yourselves in the way your ancestors did, and lust after their vile images? When you offer your gifts, the sacrifice of your children in the fire, you continue to defile yourselves with all your idols to this day. Am I to let you inquire of me, you Israelites? As surely as I live, declares the sovereign Lord, I will not let you inquire of me. Verse 32. You say, we want to be like the nations, like the peoples of the world who serve wood and stone. But what you have in mind will never happen. As surely as I live, declares the sovereign Lord, I will reign over you with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm, and with outpoured wrath. I will bring you from the nations, and gather you from the countries where you have been scattered. With a mighty hand and an outstretched arm, and with outpoured wrath, I will bring you into the wilderness of the nations, and there, face to face, I will execute a judgment upon you. As I judged your ancestors in the wilderness of the land of Egypt, so I will judge you, declares the sovereign Lord. I will take note as you pass under my rod. I will bring you into the bond of the covenant. I will purge you out of those who revolt and rebel against me. Although I will bring them out of the land where they are living, yet they will not enter the land of Israel. Then you will know that I am the Lord. As for you, the people of Israel, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Go and serve your idols, every one of you. But afterward you will surely listen to me any longer, and no longer profane my holy name with your gifts and idols. For on my holy mountain, the high mountain of Israel, declares the sovereign Lord, there in the land, and all the people of Israel will serve me, and there I will accept them. There I will require your offerings and your choice gifts, along with all your holy sacrifices. I will accept you as fragrant incense when I bring out from the nations and gather you from the countries where you have been scattered. I will be proved holy through you in the sight of the nations. Then you will know that I am the Lord when I bring you into the land of Israel, the land I had sworn with uplifted hand to give to your ancestors. There you will remember your conduct and all the actions by which you have defiled yourselves, and you will loathe yourselves from all the evil you have done. You will know that I am the Lord when I deal with you for my name's sake, and not according to your evil ways and your corrupt practices. You, people of Israel, declares the sovereign Lord. Verse 45. The word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, set your face toward the south, preach against the south, and prophesy against the forest of the southland. Say to the southern forest, hear the word of the Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says. I am about to set fire to you, and it will consume all your trees, both green and dry. The blazing flame will not be quenched, and every face from the south to the north will be scorched by it. Every one will see that I, the Lord, have kindled it, and it will not be quenched. Then I said, Sovereign Lord, they are saying of me, isn't he just telling parables? Poor Ezekiel, man. Oh, they're not going to listen to him. I'm going to go ahead and spoil it for you. They don't listen to him either. It's frustrating, guys. It's frustrating. Guys, we are still living in this world. It's still the same now. It's still the same. This is crazy. Okay. Alrighty. Thanks for toughing it out. If you're still hanging out with me reading this Bible, the whole Bible in 90 days and getting the whole picture, I'm proud of you. I am so proud of you. This is so hard. It's so difficult, especially now. And just I can't. Jesus is coming. Okay, he is coming in the Bible. He's coming for real, but you have to look forward to that because you're not going to make it through the 12. The 12 minor prophets are this same message in different times and things over and over and over. Ezekiel, man, I don't know why we don't study Ezekiel more because he lays it out so clean and so perfect that you can't not understand it. Oh, man. The fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. Everything else is futile vanity. That's what the Bible teaches us, guys. Well, that's all I've got for today. Happy Sunday. Y'all have a wonderful day. God loves you. I love you too. Amen.